open source and running a business on the cheap, and that really appeals to me in so many different ways. I'm sure you're going to feel the same way. So please welcome him to the stage with a round of applause, David Duggins. Thank you.
I didn't get a chance to catch every single speaker, but I think I'm one of the only ones that's actually using Linux for my, my presentation. I was afraid with the lights I wouldn't be able to see everybody, but I actually can, and that's kind of cool. Before I get started, I want to know kind of who we've got. How many people here are technical? That's a lot of you. How many are not technical? Okay, I apologize for all of you who raised your hand up front. I'm kind of going to tone this down more for the non-technical people. What I'm going to talk about is how you can use open source software to run your business. I'm going to focus on 3 different areas. I'm going to start off by talking about how you can use open source software to actually run your business in the day-to-day. The second thing I'm going to talk about is just some software programs you use to organize your business. This kind of stuff that the managers like. And lastly, we're getting into marketing. I'm going to talk about some software, open source software you can use to promote your business. And just to kind of get some obligatory self-promotion out of the way, I've been in open source for about 11 years now. I've worked for about 4 or 5 different startup companies over the years. I'm currently working as a freelance developer and consultant. I work mainly with open source software. I've got my contact information here, my Twitter, my blog, my Google profile, and my GitHub account if you want to see what I really do. And I just want everyone to know you can Twitter me, you can email me at any time ever for the rest of your lives. Any questions, I'll try to help you out. I really love this stuff. So some housekeeping notes. I like penguins. And if you don't know this by the time this presentation is over, you must be blind, because I've got penguins on like every single slide. All right? I noticed yesterday that there's a lot of people talking about why you should use open source software. So I decided I'm really not going to go into a lot of the whys of using open source software, because I figure you've already heard that. I'm mostly going to be talking about hows. And if you don't know why and you want to know, please come talk to me when I'm done, or email me later on. I'm more than happy to tell you why you should be using open source software. I figure I'm going to start with Linux. I use Linux. I love Linux. Linux is a very versatile system. You've heard a lot of people talk about all the different things you can use it for. I put up some that I don't think were talked about. You've got Mythbuntu, which is kind of like a media management system. You can actually run it through your television, and it records your favorite shows, and you can keep your music on it, and it's pretty cool. OpenSUSE has some projects for medically specific Linux, some geared to education. There's actually a lot of Linux distros and collections that you can get that have educational software on them. And then suppose I couldn't find cool graphics for them, but on Backtrack Linux and Ubuntu Studio. Ubuntu Studio has a lot of stuff for like making music, and it's kind of cool. And then I like Backtrack, security-oriented. If you want to do forensics and see what's going on in your network, you can actually boot up off of Backtrack and use that. The first thing I want to talk about is Linux is like a do-it-yourself concept. Computers cost money, and the more computers you have, the more money you're spending on those computers. Well, you can put together a box for a couple $100, put Linux on it, works great. Your secretary can sit in it and just have the word processor type on it. Someone that just needs a basic machine, you can get them up and running relatively quickly with Linux. Another thing that's been talked a lot about is if you're a larger business and you need to have more support. I mean, there's lots of companies out there, and these are the big guys, and there's also local companies that you can hire, me, will help you out with any kind of open source that you need, setting up systems, servers. I mean, Linux can run everything. So I'm talking about its versatility. I mean, the same Linux that you can put on your desktop with a few tweaks can run on your server, web, mail, anything. Well, This is a picture that a lot of people have about open source. I mean, it says Linux, but open source and Windows, that there's this kind of this war and we don't get along with one another. Well, that's not true. I would prefer that you use Linux. But if you don't want to use Linux, or you've already got a large investment in Windows, there are a lot of software applications out there that you can use that are open source. And by the way, everything that I'm talking about today is cross-platform compatible. It will run on Linux, Windows, and the Mac. And I've given URLs for all of those different programs so you can write them down. So aside from the operating system, running a business, I mean, Office is like this big deal. LibreOffice, which is the recent fork from OpenOffice, and I talk about it because it's what I use, it gives you all the basics that you need. You've got a word processor, you've got spreadsheet, and I'm running the slide presentation on their presentation program. LibreOffice is completely compatible with Microsoft Office. You can open all the formats that Microsoft Office saves in. You can also save your files in the same format, which makes compatibility less of an issue. I do remember at Midlands Tech, sometimes teachers would complain that they get documents in the OpenOffice format and they can't read them because they've got Microsoft Office. So it can be very important in business to make sure you stay compatible, and you've got that here. Another great way to kind of get your feet wet in open source, and many of you on the non-technical may already use Firefox as your browser. And if you don't, you should, because it's secure, it's great. But the Firefox browser, and then Thunderbird, which is a fabulous email client that you can run. There's also one, Evolution. I don't have a picture for it, but Evolution is very similar to Outlook in the way it appears, and it can even connect to an Exchange server. Graphics is not something that most offices deal with unless they are kind of creative, artistic, but the GIMP is, I think it's better than Photoshop, but I learned it first. It's a fabulous photo and graphic editing software package that you can use, resize photos, remove, I mean, anything you can do in Photoshop, you can get it done in the GIMP. So this next part I couldn't find any great pictures for, but organizing your business. And I'm really mainly going to talk about two different systems. One is Sugar CRM. I just started using this to kind of manage my consulting business, and it's a really cool piece of software. The only other customer relations management that I've ever used is NetSuite. And as far as I can tell, this Sugar CRM is great stuff. There's going to be a workshop on it tomorrow morning. It's going to be really cool. I'm going to be sitting in on that one. They do offer 3 versions. They have a community version, which is free. It's what I run. You can install that on any server, your own server, and run your business from that. Then they have 2 other levels. I think it's Gold and Professional that gives you some more features. It's got support. It's a fabulous way to keep track of contacts and sales and all the things that are going on. And the second that I want to talk about is GNU Cash. It's kind of like Quicken, QuickBooks. I use it to manage our finances at the house. It may not be as pretty, but it's great. And really, these are things that you can't just really talk about. You have to really get into them to show you. And I only have like 45 minutes. So I'm going to be having a workshop tomorrow where, among other things, we're going to be going over these programs in just intense detail. I'm a web developer, really. It's what I do, mostly. So this side of it is the part that I have the most passion about. There's just a lot of really great frameworks that you can use to promote your business. You need a website? Right out of the box, here's 3 choices right here: Joomla, Drupal, or WordPress. Most hosting providers will actually have a point-and-click install. Once you're registered, you push a button, and they'll install one of these on the server for you immediately. This gives you the ability to put up a web presence. You can edit the content without being a geek. And if you need extra features, they're all extremely extensible, and you can hire geeks, okay, like me, all right, to come in and help you build modules and build custom parts and pieces and bits. I mainly work with WordPress myself. I've done some WordPress stuff for restaurants, schools, just business websites in general. It used to be known as a blogging platform, but it's kind of grown over the years to really being recognized as a content management system. And the second one that I've got the most experience with is Joomla, but I have heard that Drupal really is just doing wonders. Just in case something like that is not good enough for you, these are some open source tools that you can use to create very, very more customized solutions. Of course, there's the classic PHP with the MySQL. 20 million websites worldwide. That's probably approximate. Using PHP and MySQL Server. I get flack from recruiters all the time. They're like, well, we're looking for .NET, and that's how I do PHP, and they're like, well, you know, we're trying to go to more modern languages. I'm like, really? 20 million websites. Come on, guys. Another one that everyone has probably heard of is Ruby on Rails. It's probably one of the hottest languages going out there right now, and it's got a framework built on Ruby to rapidly develop websites, and you can really put up a really powerful and cool website very quickly with Ruby on Rails. And Django is another one I want to talk about, and that's a framework written in Python. I mean, anyone here use Python? Python's a powerful language, and this is just a great way to utilize its power to rapidly build up websites. Anyone here use Django? There's one back there. I'm just getting started on it. I think it's great.